Arc 1, Awakening. Chapter 1, the tutorial reward was a death sentence. Death is supposed to hurt. That's what Edrin thinks as consciousness returns. Not in fire, not in light, but in cold stone and iron. His first sensation is weight. Heavy chains bite into his wrists and ankles. The second is smell, damp rot, old blood, and something faintly metallic, like rust mixed with fear. He opens his eyes. A prison cell, narrow, stone walls carved with old scratches, tally marks, prayers, curses. A single barred window lets in gray morning light. Outside, bells toll once, slow and deliberate. Execution bells. Edrin exhales. Ah, he mutters dryly. So this is the afterlife. Memories rush in, not of this body, but of another world. Concrete, screens, deadlines. A life spent dismantling bad systems for a living, corporate risk modeling, predictive failure analysis. He remembers the moment of death clearly, a bus hydroplaning through a red light, the exact statistical absurdity of it. 1 in several thousand. Figures. Then a second set of memories overlays the first. Foreign, violent, incomplete. A name, Edrin Vale. A charge, high treason. A sentence, public execution at dawn. Edrin blinks slowly. So I'm not dead, he says. I've just been downgraded. The cell door rattles. Footsteps echo down the corridor. A guard's voice mutters something about another one for the gallows. Edrin tests the chains. Useless. Then, system initializing. The words appear inside his vision, clean and sharp, hovering like translucent glass. Edrin freezes. Of course, he sighs. There's always a system. Causal optimization system. Active host confirmed objective. Minimize total future suffering. A progress bar fills instantly. No fanfare. No fireworks. Just cold certainty. Edrin narrows his eyes. Defines suffering. Suffering. Aggregate negative sentient experience across all timelines. That's a disturbingly precise answer. Another line appears. Tutorial mission available. Edrin almost laughs. Let me guess, kill 10 slimes? The system does not respond to sarcasm. Instead, an image forms. A child, no older than 8, brown hair, dirt-smudged cheeks, sitting on the steps of a tenement, carving shapes into wood with a dull knife. Ordinary, painfully ordinary. Then data floods Edrin's mind. Target, Alrin Kess. Current status, civilian. Projected future, revolutionary leader. Armed uprising, 11 years. Casualties, 2.3 million. Secondary famine deaths, par 5 million. Total suffering index, critical. Edrin's breath catches. You're joking. Mission objective, eliminate target before age 9. Reward, full system access failure result. Apocalypse level cascade confirmed. The execution bells toll again. Edrin leans back against the stone wall, chains clinking softly. A child, the system is calm, neutral, unapologetic. Edrin closes his eyes. In his old life, he'd watched governments delay hard decisions because they were ugly. He'd seen the cost of hesitation quantified in spreadsheets full of zeros. But this isn't a tutorial, he whispers. Correct. This is a filter. The guard stops outside his cell. Vale, the man calls. On your feet. It's time. Edrin opens his eyes, a condemned man, a child marked for death, a system that never lies, and only hours left before the noose. He smiles faintly. Well, he murmurs, you certainly picked the wrong villain. Chapter 2. Probability does not care about innocence. The system gives him exactly 6 hours, not as mercy, as efficiency. Edrin is released from the cell under a sequence of improbabilities so subtle they feel like accidents. A guard trips, a key ring drops, a door is left unlocked for half a second too long. By the time anyone notices, Edrin is already walking the city streets, hood pulled low, chains gone as if they never existed. Execution status cancelled. Cause statistical anomaly stacking. Edrin exhales slowly. So you bend causality. I select optimal paths. Reality complies. The city is poor. Stone buildings sag under their own age. Merchants shout prices that no one can afford. Soldiers stand on corners, bored and cruel. This is a world already rotting, the kind that produces revolutions like mold. Edrin finds the child by following probability gradients the system overlays onto his vision. Faint arrows, likelihood percentages, branching futures. Alrin Kess. He's smaller than the projection suggested. Knees scraped raw. Shirt patched too many times. Edrin watches from across the street. The boy laughs as another child steals his carving. Chases him, trips, gets up again. No malice, no rage, just life. Edrin feels something twist in his chest. Not guilt, but cognitive dissonance. Show me the future, he whispers. The system complies. The street dissolves. Edrin sees years unfold in seconds. Alrin older, beaten by soldiers. Alrin screaming over a dead mother. Alrin holding a banner. Alrin giving speeches that ignite crowds. Then fire. Cities burning, mass graves, starving children clutching empty bowls. Edrin flinches as the numbers scroll. Millions dead. The vision ends. The boy is still laughing. Edrin swallows. In my world, he says quietly, we called this moral hazard. Morality is a heuristic. Outcomes are law. Edrin watches a woman slap Alren for running too close to the road. Watches a soldier kick over a beggar. This world is a pressure cooker. Revolutions don't start because of villains. They start because of math. Edrin rubs his temples. If I don't do this, failure confirmed. No alternative paths with lower suffering exist. And if I do, global suffering reduced by 87.2%. Edrin laughs softly, a humorless sound. Probability doesn't care about innocence, he murmurs. The child runs past him, nearly colliding with his legs. Sorry, mister, Alrin calls, already gone. Edrin closes his eyes. He has 6 hours. Chapter 3. The smallest cut Edrin does not rush. That is the first optimization. Killing loudly creates ripples, investigations, revenge cycles, martyrs. The system confirms this, overlaying red warning branches across violent methods. Knife, unacceptable visibility. Poison, collateral vectors too high. Public act, narrative amplification risk. Edrin breathes steadily. Then what's optimal? Accidental mortality event. Low emotional footprint, minimal causal disturbance. Rain begins to fall. Not dramatically, just enough to slick stone and soften edges. Edrin follows Alrin toward the river district, where broken railings overlook fast water. Children play there because no one else cares enough to stop them. Edrin's hands shake once, then stop. This isn't rage, this isn't cruelty, this is procedure. The boy climbs the railing, balancing with childish confidence. Edrin steps forward. Hey, he calls gently. Alrin turns, smiling. Yeah? Edrin points behind him. You're carving. You dropped it. The boy looks down. That's all it takes. A slip, a startled gasp, a small body vanishing into dark water. No scream. The river takes him. People shout. Someone runs. Someone prays. Edrin stands perfectly still. Mission complete. The world does not explode. Lightning does not strike. The system pings softly. Reward granted, full system access unlocked. Edrin stares at the water until the ripples fade. He feels nothing. Then, everything. Not guilt. Weight. The weight of a world that just tilted slightly toward survival. Global projection updated, revolution node removed, casualty reduction confirmed. Edrin turns away as the rain washes the street clean. Behind him, a woman screams a child's name. Ahead of him, the future stabilizes, just a fraction. Edrin exhales. The first sin really is the easiest, he whispers. The system remains silent. It doesn't need to speak anymore. Chapter 4. The execution that never happened. The city wakes up expecting a death. Posters have already been nailed to stone walls. Edrin Vale, traitor, sketched poorly but recognizable enough. A crowd gathers near the gallows before sunrise, drawn less by justice and more by habit. Executions are the closest thing this city has to entertainment. Edrin walks through them unseen, not invisible, just unimportant. Attention weight adjusted, perceptual priority low. People glance at him and immediately forget why they looked. A woman argues with a baker. A drunk trips over his own feet. A priest loudly debates the weather with no one. Reality bends without snapping. Edrin pauses at the edge of the square. The gallows stand tall. New rope, fresh wood, a trapdoor waiting for his weight. That's unsettling, Edrin mutters. I was definitely supposed to be there. Execution path removed. Host value exceeds termination benefit. So I'm an asset now. Correct. The system overlays branching futures above the square. In every version where Edrin dies today, the numbers spike. Wars delayed but not prevented. Plagues mismanaged. Tyrants rising unchecked. The future bleeds red. Edrin looks away. Tell me something, he says quietly. If I'd refused the mission, you would have been executed. System would select a new host. Would they have done it? Probability, 94.7%. Edrin closes his eyes briefly. So the only difference, he says, is that I was willing. The crowd begins to murmur. Confusion spreads. Officials whisper urgently. The executioner checks his list again and again. There is no prisoner. By noon, the gallows are dismantled. The city shrugs and moves on. Edrin watches from an alley as the rope is coiled away like a mistake. No announcement, no apology, no explanation. History simply edits itself. Causal cleanup complete. Edrin exhales slowly. So this is how you save the world, he murmurs, one missing death at a time. Chapter 5. Optimization Rewards. The system does not celebrate, it updates. Edrin feels it first as pressure behind the eyes, like information being poured directly into his skull without bothering to knock. Ability tree unlocked, primary access efficiency, secondary access per control. No fireballs, Edrin asks dryly. Flashy abilities increase visibility risk. Figures. Instead, he receives subtler gifts. Causal sight, the ability to see probability threads branching from people and events. Decision compression, reducing complex outcomes into single-weighted choices. Outcome anchoring, nudging reality towards statistically favorable results. No glowing auras, no dramatic power surge, just competence. Edrin flexes his fingers. The world feels slightly quieter now, like static removed from a signal. He walks through the city again, but this time he sees it differently. A merchant arguing over grain prices becomes a famine node. A drunken officer laughing too loudly becomes a future war crime. A sickly noble coughing into a handkerchief becomes a plague amplifier. Red, yellow, green, risk levels everywhere. This place is already bleeding, Edrin mutters. Global status, projected apocalypse within 38 years. Confidence, 99.2%. Edrin stops walking. That soon? Optimistic scenario. He lets out a slow breath. So all the heroes, he says, all the prophecies, they're already too late. Heroic interventions statistically inefficient. They act after cascades begin. Edrin thinks of stories from his old world. Chosen ones, brave last stands, climactic battles, all very emotional, all very expensive. And villains, he asks. Villains act early. Early action is cheaper. The system pauses, just long enough to feel intentional. You are optimally positioned. Edrin smiles faintly. Congratulations, he says. You found a man with nothing left to lose. Chapter 6. A world already doomed. That night, the system shows him everything. Not in fragments, not in warnings, in totality. Edrin sits alone in an abandoned watchtower as the stars wheel overhead and the world unfolds inside his mind. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms burn. Heroes appear, bright, loud, beloved, and die accomplishing nothing permanent. Gods intervene selectively, guided by worship metrics rather than outcomes. Plagues jump borders because stopping them would offend trade interests. Revolutions replace tyrants with worse tyrants. The same suffering, rearranged, again and again and again. Edrin grips the stone floor as the projections continue. Children starving not because of scarcity, but logistics. Cities erased because diplomacy failed by a single insult. Entire species going extinct quietly, off-screen, unnoticed. Suffering is not an anomaly, it is the default state. The system highlights nodes, places where small, brutal decisions would collapse entire chains of misery. A general who must die before his first victory. A prophet whose words will ignite holy war. A healer whose monopoly will turn medicine into leverage. Edrin's stomach tightens. This isn't hero work, he whispers. Correct, this pruning. Alternative terminology, optimization. Edrin laughs softly, not because it's funny, but because the scale is overwhelming. All this time, he says, staring at the stars, people prayed for salvation. The system waits. And what they needed, Edrin finishes, was someone willing to be hated early. The projections stabilize slightly as he accepts it. Not dramatically, not completely, but enough to matter. Host resolve confirmed, next objective set. A new marker appears on his map. Another name, another future disaster. Edrin stands, no cape, no banner, no witnesses, just a man walking toward the next necessary evil. All right, he says quietly, let's save the world the wrong way.